So I was looking at this place I've got over here and just kind of thinking about it and thinking what should I do with this, and I realized I need buildings. Buildings everywhere. That's basically how I feel about most of my parks all the time, but especially this little plaza, I'm actually kind of afraid that I might turn it into a city almost. So I should watch out with those buildings. But the first thing that I wanted to give a try was to build a very small building over here just to get the height out of the other buildings that are next to it, but then again also kind of accentuate that. I don't know if that makes sense, but I had a couple of high buildings to the left of this thing, and I felt like I wanted something next to it that was very low, and I like galleries with pillars, so I decided to go with that, and it turned out to be pretty nice. Then there's also the buildings around the ship, I mean the pirate ship next to this thing, of course. And which is also something that I'm going to work on in this episode, which just keeps reminding me of the pirate ship in the Efteling, because I think that's a pretty, isn't it like the biggest pirate ship in the world or Europe? Something like that. It's pretty big, alright, and it's got amazing scenery next to it, and so basically the idea is you have a pirate ship, and then behind the pirate ship you have loads of buildings, and for the Efteling that would be buildings in Dutch-ish style. And for this little plaza over here, I figured I would just do it in non-Dutch, but like, oh, damn it, I need to, okay, that is Alpine Spook, no, forget it. A weird style that I'm currently doing, which I have some mixed feelings about, actually. I've got many mixed feelings about this park, because this, on one hand, it turned out better than I expected so far, because it is of course a very weird style, and I don't even know where I'm going with this entire thing. It almost feels like doodling in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, it's just, it almost feels random, but then again, is creativity random, and you could say loads of things about that, but it always feels random in a sense to me that there isn't really one big theme or idea that sweeps throughout the park with many different regions that have different looks. It's all just kind of weird. And on one hand, the idea of that is what actually got me started on this park, just to kind of do an experiment with how this would turn out with a theme like this that has never really been done in this way, at least. But then again, it did turn out partly how I expected it to be, as in it turned out in like as kind of a rhapsody right now, which I'm trying to get rid of. And I'm not going to judge this part too soon, because as I've experienced many times before, something may look extremely bad, and then as soon as you place foliage, it just looks awesome. I have no idea why that happens. It just seems that foliage is such an important factor that your brain says, this looks stupid, and then you place one tree and then it looks good. Which even counts for trees in front of buildings, as you can see with those buildings over there, they just look a lot better with a couple of trees in front of them. And that's also something that I kind of have mixed feelings about, because on one hand, trees are awesome, and they make your park look so much better, but then again, I always spam them. I probably place too many trees, because there is also such a thing as placing so many trees that you don't see anything, and that might just be a problem as well. So I should probably, when it comes to my parks, and this is also something that I'm going to try, add some more, well, areas with less foliage, because I'm actually doing something that I've been guilty of doing a while ago, and I thought I was cured of, which is the fact that I always used to spam ground shrubbery, which is something that I used to do, and then I realized that it wasn't necessary, and now I see that I'm doing it again for this park. I don't know how that happened. I just looked at it and I saw that I did it, and that just turned out to happen like that. Must be my subconscious or something like that. But it's not an issue per se for this park, because this is of course a over-the-top park, but it's definitely something I should watch out for. I shouldn't overdo the foliage when it comes to that. And sometimes you just need to spread it more. I feel like I'm already spreading foliage into clusters, but I should do it even more, as in some areas that have very dense bushes and stuff like that, and some grasslands in between them. That should probably work out well, but that's definitely something to experiment with. The thing is, I never really want to have one big forest that's just trees everywhere, and especially if all those trees are the same, that makes it even more boring, because even though that does kind of happen in real life, I don't want that because it doesn't look that good. But anyway, about these buildings that I'm currently building, yes, they are kind of inspired by the buildings in the Efteling, as in behind the pirate ship, having that small facade. But then again, they're different. They're probably a lot higher in the end, and a lot bigger, while the pirate ship in front of it is a lot smaller. Oh, that's strange actually, I just now noticed that. The ship is almost dwarfed by these, well, pretty humongous buildings around it. And once again, that's the over-the-topness and unrealisticness of this park, because these buildings don't serve a function. None of these buildings actually serve a function. I was planning to have a restaurant over here, but then I realized that I already had that restaurant near the entrance, of course. So I built that restaurant next to, where's that place again? I don't even have a name for that. But that small corner with the spooky intimate blitz and the B&M invert. And I suppose that's the best place to have a restaurant. Though I should probably build like a toilet building or something like that. I should have some bathrooms and other stuff in my park somewhere, or at least clearly show them, because when it comes to small realistic things like that, I always forget about stuff and always get lost in building things and then forget about the actual important theme park stuff. But also, I have a confession to make. I'm kind of getting tired of this park. I'm at the point where I'm like, especially because the themes in this park are very similar, I'm at the point where I feel like I've done about everything now, and I'm just rehashing things that I've already done elsewhere in the park right now. Although sometimes with other sets and in very different ways, it does feel like almost copying things. So I really need to move on to the next park, and that is very probably going to be an Asian park. Now before I do that, I might do some random episodes or actually start with the RCT3 shenanigans right away, but I kind of want to wait until I don't have a cold anymore because my voice currently sucks, and see if I can actually do something with the Asian theme, because I have no experience with that theme whatsoever. And the usual thing that I do when I don't have any experience with the theme is, and this is something I could recommend to people because not really everyone does this, but it is really helpful, although it is time consuming, is I just open up an empty sandbox and I try to do random things. Try to make random buildings and structures using the custom scenery sets that I've never used for a theme that I've never done, which is something that I did for Protoss, and that turned into a huge project. Basically, the way I did that with Protoss is I did open an empty sandbox, and I got the sci-fi sets, which I never worked with before, and I just started building and started exploring the sci-fi sets in a live stream, which was a live stream which took many hours, and the only thing I really got was a couple of small buildings. But in the process of that, I actually did learn what kind of pieces the sets have, what kind of sets I should use, what you can do with the various pieces, and kind of get used to the theme. And the best thing was, after a couple of days of doing that and many hours of live streaming, I also saved some of the structures I had. And that was what would eventually turn into the Protoss station and some of the buildings on top of the first hill, the very small ones with the cranes on top. And I was actually able to use those buildings right away in my roller coaster, so it's also very nice if you really do want to make some progress without spending too much time on certain things. So I suppose that's really a nice tip. Although, like I said, it is somewhat time consuming, and you do have to do something before you start right away, because I would probably not even do this if I want to build a coaster, and I absolutely want to build that coaster and nothing else. I would probably also just open a new park file and work on it right away, even if I haven't done the theme before. But for sci-fi, I had no clue what to do, so I just opened up that little sandbox and kind of figured things out. Which is also something where I figured out some new pieces, like these rusty pipes from, well, I don't know if they're rusty, but all of these random objects from Station Jim's sci-fi set, because I didn't expect this, but it turns out that that set actually has some pieces that do work somewhat well with the spooky coaster, so you can use that in that. But anyway, that's it for this episode, so thanks for watching, and